then we're going to proceed into a live demonstration of the time and attendance system, and then we'll wrap up today's session with an interactive question and answer. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get through a few slides and a couple housekeeping items, and then we'll get into the content. So to facilitate this afternoon's session, we're first going to go over Delphia's perspective on the time and attendance marketplace. We're going to tell you where time and attendance was, where it's at today. We're then going to really explore some of the features and functions behind the Sage Time and Attendance application. We'll talk about integrating the system with your existing HRMS or non-Sage products that you may have. We'll talk about the way that customers of ours collect timesheet data, whether it's from the field, whether it's from a PC or a time clock. We'll wrap everything up. We'll get into the live presentation inside the software, and then we'll follow up with Q&A. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the content portion. Like we mentioned, we want to give you our perspective on where the time and attendance marketplace came from, and we hope this hits home with some of the folks on the phone here today. And as you can see here, with the first generation of timekeeping, we saw mechanical time clocks or paper and pencil timesheets. Employees are punching or writing their time down. Managers are reviewing that time, editing with the pencil and eraser, and they're calling the time approved. In turn, they're handing it off to payroll. Payroll's double-checking everything. As you can see here, they have their fingers crossed, hoping they're not going to go through an audit. The first generation of timekeeping is a very loose process, but there is one benefit here. This is a process that is completely transparent to the employees. They're able to touch their time card and review it at every step of the way. Let's move into the second generation. As we see at the second generation, here's where we start to see computer systems become incorporated, and we achieve some automation. We're looking at a DOS or a mainframe type system here, and employees are able to punch on an electronic time clock. However, this process does take all the transparency away from the employees. It also pushes the burden of fixing and correction of these time cards away from the managers and up to the payroll office. Payroll, in turn, is running and distributing missing punch reports. Managers are marking those reports up, sending the changes back to payroll. Payroll, ideally, is actually keying those corrections into the time card, hopefully. And in some cases, and in a lot of cases, payroll's really accountable and under the gun to get payroll completed. So a lot of guessing and correcting is happening here without a lot of information. The worst part about the second generation is that the employees are still in the dark. They have no transparency into this. Let's move into the third generation. With the third generation, we finally see proprietary time clocks come along. The previous screen, we saw repurposed credit card terminals. So managers are now able to log into the computer and mine for information that they need. Managers are able to fix time cards, and they're able to still run reports and chase after employees. My guess is a lot of the customers of ours on the phone right now have a second or third generation time card system. So let's move into the fourth generation. How do we engage employees? How do we streamline some of these business processes? Well, this is Sage Time and Attendance. This is what we're going to be talking about today. Sage Time and Attendance uses a virtual manager. It uses real-time alerting. It incorporates employee and manager self-service to finally provide a 100% transparent solution that improves accuracy, makes it easier for the front and back office. It improves employee and manager satisfaction, and most importantly, Sage Time and Attendance is strategic to your business. So let's dive into some of the benefits of a fourth generation system like Sage Time and Attendance. Employees and managers can see information in real time. They get alerts for things like tardies, absences, schedule changes, time off requests. And through using our business intelligence reporting tools, managers can even have access to see if there are trends in attendance. For example, if Kelly Jo comes in late every single Friday, or if she's taken too long of a lunch or consistently misses punching her time, we're going to be able to see that information right away. So having that information in real time at your fingertips can absolutely help you fill gaps in your business processes. Sage Time and Attendance is fully integrated with your HR, payroll, and accounting solutions too. That helps you cut down on having to duplicate data entry efforts like adding new hires. They're immediately set up from HR into Time and Attendance, so that time collection data can be brought back into payroll for processing. We can also position folks to collect job cost information or to track time spent against grants, programs, or any type of projects as well. The real story, ultimately, time and attendance is something that every employee in your organization has to deal with, whether they're aware of it or not. This includes salary people too. Individuals need to account for their hours, track time off, update schedules, view reports, and so much more. So having a centralized solution that empowers your staff to account for their time can greatly increase the employee satisfaction as well as the productivity time of the payroll staff by reducing mistakes and the time needed to go back and make those types of corrections. All right, so let's paint a picture on how time and attendance fits with your existing Sage products, okay? We like showing this slide because it demonstrates how we integrate HR, payroll, timekeeping, and scheduling all in the same platform. Let's go ahead and start this process by reviewing the HR system. On the right-hand side of the diagram, we see the HR database. And our HR database contains the company data, like division and location codes. It also contains the employee demographics information, first name, last name, pay rates, manager-direct report relationships, and other code tables. So what we do to decrease duplicate data entry is import all that HR data into the time and attendance system. The reason why we do that is so we don't have to set that information up in two systems. Okay? So now that we have the HR database synced with time and attendance, at the bottom of the screen, we have our different ways and different data collection options that our customers use. Let's dive into this. Now, each company is different, and any of these options can be mixed and matched for usage. First option we want to talk about is the web clock. Any web-enabled device like a computer, a PC, Mac, tablet, iPhone, smartphone can be used for punching in and out over the web. Okay? We do also support physical hardware as well. We offer card swipe readers. And we also support finger biometric scanners as well. Okay. Towards the right-hand side of the diagram on the bottom of the screen, we see some mobile options. We have a telephony service that employees can use for calling in and out their punch time. That works great for drivers or any folks that are field-based in nature. We see a lot of home care providers take advantage of that service. And we also have a timesheet option in the middle of the screen. Timesheet is our end-of-day or end-of-work week method for keying our hours in. And then towards the right-hand side of the screen, our final option we want to talk about is the mobile crew punch. The crew punch allows a supervisor, foreman, or superintendent to log a full group of employees into the same job code or to the same job site all at once. This prevents that superintendent user from going in and keying everybody's hours. All right, so we have a variety of data collection options. The more popular option is probably the web punch, but we do support hardware as well as mobile solutions. If anybody has a data collection option specific to their organization, go ahead and get that question entered into the chat box, and we can address that towards the end of the presentation. Let's tie this back in to the data flow diagram. So as we position the employees to collect their hours through the identified method, what we do at the end of the payroll is position your management team to put a blessing or a validation or an electronic signature on those tracked hours. That will signal to the payroll office that the time can be imported into the payroll module for final processing. So timekeeping is really the bridge between the HR and the payroll module on the Sage platform. Now, I would like to direct everyone's eyes to the upper left-hand corner of this slide. There is an optional module that Kelly Jo and I want to highlight today. Time Simplicity is our preferred scheduling partner. And what Time Simplicity offers our customers is a demand-based schedule management system. A lot of organizations we work with operate under banker's hours. They don't need help building schedules. We do have a lot of customers that need help finding that ideal candidate to fill in for an ideal shift, or they need help building the right schedule to stay on budget, and we do have a more advanced scheduling solution available. We're not going to be reviewing that today. We just want to let you know that we do have a scheduling application that integrates seamlessly with the time and attendance module. Customers in the retail industries, healthcare industries, any types of organizations that need help building schedules, we do have advanced tools to get that done. All right, so in summary, time and attendance is integrated with our HR, with our payroll systems that cuts down on duplicate data entry, We have a variety of different ways of collecting the timesheet information, and we also offer schedule integration as well. So let's start wrapping this up so we can get our hands in the live software system. To summarize, Sage Time and Attendance is web-based. It's available to you as a licensed purchase or as a hosted solution as well. You're not required to purchase any hardware to start collecting time unless you need one of those time clocks that we talked about. As I mentioned earlier, staff will have full capabilities to use this tool over any web browser, so they'll be empowered to take control of their timesheets and time off management. We also offer options for scheduling staff, time off requests, electronic approvals, and workflows. Finally, we do offer integrations to Sage ERP products, Sage MIP, outsourced payroll service bureaus, and so many other payroll products. All right, everyone, we're really hopeful that after today's webinar that you'll be interested in taking a further dive into the time and attendance system and doing more of a customized presentation. If you would like to take that step, please call your Delphia Consulting Solutions architect and they can coordinate a one-on-one presentation. But until then, let's go through a demonstration. We're going to hop out of PowerPoint. And right away, I just pulled up the time and attendance login page. Let's go over a couple technical items here before we start punching in and out and going through some of these in-software workflows. Everyone, we are looking at web-based software. For those of you not familiar with web-based software, this means our end users need access to an internet connection and a web browser in order to look at timesheets, punch, or review information. No software needs to be installed in the end user workstations. No Java, no Silverlight, no ActiveX, no additional plugins. All we need is a web browser and an internet connection to access time and attendance. Also, for those of you that have Windows Active Directory for user account management, we can position your users to log into this system using your exact same company usernames and passwords that they've used for logging into the computer system. Employees love that. That's one less password for them to maintain and remember. Also, for those of you that have the Sage Employee Self-Service module, we do support single sign-on authentication to the Sage ESS system too. Finally, for those of you that have mail servers, which should be everyone on this call, we can integrate with your mail systems, so we send managers a call to attention or a call to action if someone's late, leaving early, missing a punch, racking up the overtime, or maybe not taking long enough of a lunch break. We'll get into those alerts or calls to attention and action momentarily. If anybody has any technical questions or infrastructure questions, get those into the chat box. We'll get those questions addressed at the end of the presentation. Now that we've got through the techie portion, we're going to go ahead and start punching in and out. All right, for employees that are going to punch over the web punch, all they're going to do is come into the login page. This can be accessed through Sage ESS like we mentioned, or it can be accessed directly from their favorites or an icon on their desktop. They'll plug in their credentials, then they'll go ahead and click the punch button to begin punching in and out. When we click punch, that does pull up a menu that could be dedicated to a computer terminal. We have some healthcare organizations and some retailers that choose to purchase tablets, lock the tablets in, and then have this punch in and out screen available in a kiosk type view. For employees that are accessing this on their personal computer, they'll click the punch button, and as they pull up the web clock here, they'll go ahead and click the button that corresponds with the action. The punch buttons are configurable. If we need a paid break button for retailers, we could turn that on. If we need a 2-hour callback minimum button for healthcare folks, we could turn those types of buttons on. We'll work with you to identify your rules, and the clock will be configured to conform with your punch policy. So the employee is just going to hit the button that corresponds with the action. As I hit the in option there, what the system's going to do is put that real date timestamp directly on the employee's timesheet. That time does come off of the server. The employee can't manipulate it, and then the employee's off on their way. Let's pull the web clock back up. There's a couple more processes that we want to talk about on this screen. So we just punched for attendance. We do have the ability to punch for allocations or for details. If we have any employees that may work in a different job position, a different location, or different projects throughout the course of the day, we can position them to track that detail in real time right from the web clock. And everyone, keep in mind the process that we're showing you right now over the computer can be done on a smartphone. So if we did want to position the employees to track their hours in a detailed manner, if they need to allocate against departments or locations, they click that transfer button, and that will pull up a list of authorized code structures. For those of you familiar with ABRO or the Sage HRMS product, you're probably familiar with organization levels. Those of you not familiar with that, organization levels are the way that we break down your business from a reporting standpoint. So when we click transfer, that's going to pull up a list of your codes. And your codes might be location, it might be position, it might be something other than division, department, and job. So we'll configure that for you based on your reporting structure as it relates to payroll. And then as we position the employees to come in and select the codes, you can set restrictions on who has access to which code types. For instance, if we didn't want the operations group having access to the finance codes, we could hide the finance option and take that away from them. Also, if employees get a different rate of pay for working in a different project or for working in a different job title, we can link a rate of pay to that code. We can position the employees to punch in and out of those different rates, and the system will be able to automatically calculate the FLSA overtime rate. So we'll do that for you automatically. All right, so as we position the employees to select those different code structures and to punch in and out of these different departments, positions, and jobs, as they click complete, that will automatically allocate the time to that code. And then the next day that they punch in, the time will automatically revert back to their home assignment as it's specified in the HR system. Okay, so we just went through some basic time tracking. We showed you punching for attendance, and then we just showed you punching for allocation purposes. If anyone has any questions on allocations or punching in general, get those into the chat window. All right, we just started out with employee self-service through punching. Let's continue on. Let's log in as an employee and walk through a couple other things the employees have access to doing. Right away, when employees log into the system, they're able to review their punch time right from our daily procedures menu. Okay, so we're going to drill into a timesheet and show you what a filled out timesheet looks like. Here's a timesheet. On the left-hand side of the screen, we have the actual date time. This is that timestamp that comes off the server as the employee's punch. And then we have our rounded date time field. If we have a nearest tenth or nearest quarter of an hour rounding policy, we can do the calculation right on the screen. If we don't round, we're of the opinion you hide that column. Less is so much more when you roll a system out like this. And then as we move to the right, we get some information, including how the punch aligns with the schedule, or if we have a missing punch. All right, so that's just some of the basics. This is where the timesheets get saved. Again, we're logged in as an hourly employee. Most organizations we work with give the hourly folks view-only access to their timesheets, meaning the employees can look but not touch. We're going to log in as a manager in a few minutes and walk through how managers can clean up missing punches like we see on the screen here. What we're going to do now is transition and show you how employees can fill out need people to track hours at the end of the day or end of the work week. Here is a timesheet. Depending if our company is weekly or biweekly in nature, we'll see every day of the pay period, or we can specify if we don't want Saturdays or Sundays turned on, as we can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill some hours out on Monday, and we're going to enter a little bit of detail here, everyone. We're going to enter a couple different rows so we can show you how detailed we can necessarily get. So we're going to enter our hours. Next, we have a pay type drop-down list. This brings up a couple good talking points. First talking point is that there's no technical limit to the number of pay codes that we can build in the system. Secondly, as you're seeing on the screen, we have overtime and holiday worked pay codes. The system will automatically calculate those types of premiums. We'll build your policy into the system, and then we could even hide overtime from the employees. The system is smart enough to calculate it based upon your policy and rules. We also have vacation, sick, and PTO codes in here. We're going to show you a request workflow where the employees can ask for that time off, but we could have the employees key that in if you would like. And then as we move to the right-hand side of the screen, here's where we can see those department and job and project drop-down lists. So we could position the employees to provide a level of detail on their timesheet submission. Next, employees could put a comment into the comment box. The comment field is 255 characters long. And if we want to enter a new record, we're just going to go ahead and hit the plus icon on the Monday area, and we're going to enter a couple more rows for you. All right, so we could position the employees to use this screen to enter their hours at the end of the night, throughout the workday, or at the end of the work week. Okay, this is our after-the-fact timesheet option. Let's hop out of this view. And what we're going to do now is turn the discussion into leave balance management. There are a number of different ways to manage leave balances in this type of solution. And before we pull up the time off form, let's show you the screen where the employees can go to review their available leave balances. All right, first and foremost, Sage Time and Attendance does have an accrual calculation engine. For those of you on the phone that are managing accruals in Excel or spreadsheets or outside sources, we do recommend that you take a very hard look at managing that policy within the software. For those of you that have the attendance balances in the HRMS attendance or payroll module, we can also look at importing your existing balances into timekeeping for additional review. There's a very smart reason why we want these balances in here, and that is to prevent people from requesting more than what they've earned. Okay? So here's where the employees can go to look at their balance. Now that we've shown you that, we're going to go ahead and pull up the time off form, and we're going to walk through how the employees make a time off request. When the employees want to make a request, they're going to pull up the form, and they're going to click the plus button on the right-hand side of the screen. From here, they're going to go ahead and select dates that they would like off on the calendar. We're going to ask for a long weekend over Valentine's Day weekend next week. The employee can also select the request pay type. This is configurable. Again, there's no limit on the number of codes. We also are seeing a big push for employers tracking scheduled vacation or scheduled paid time off versus unscheduled. If we want to get a handle on how much time is popping up out of thin air versus how much time is pre-scheduled, we can duplicate those pay types, make it very easy on the employees or transparent on the employees, and then our organization's in a position where we can start reporting on the difference between requested, scheduled versus unscheduled. We can also build in the FMLA codes, jury duty, so on and so forth. So it's up to you to define what's your requestable pay type for your organization. After we choose that code, we're going to go ahead and click Add. That fills the form out for us. As you can see on the screen, I'm going to hover over the green numbers here. This is the most popular place the employees go to see the leave balance, right at the time off form. We can see that we have a committed balance of 76 hours. Any 16-hour request brings us down to 60. Again, we can enforce the you can't go negative policy if that would be desired. The second policy we can enforce at the form level are blackout dates. If there are days of the year, like inventory, training days, company holidays, where the employee should not be requesting, we can stop that messaging and requesting between the employees and managers and black it out from communications. We also have a time off calendar. Again, we're logged in as an employee making a time off request. The time off calendar will share with the employee who else has off in the month they're making the request. That's optional. Some employers we work with view this more of a manager or back office calendar. It's your choice whether we give the employees this type of visibility to their teammates. Finally, the employee can include a comment, and then they can go ahead and route the form to their manager for approval. So we're going to go ahead and submit the form. And what that's going to do is send the manager an email for approval. Now, a newer feature to our system is that we have built in an approval mechanism to the email. Managers can approve and decline those time off requests right from the email. If they do want further information, for instance, a calendar view or a snapshot of the accrual balance, they can log in and approve or decline that time off form. We're going to do that in one moment. Before we log in as a manager, I just want to talk about a couple optional employee self-service features that we're going to hold off until we do a one-on-one demonstration with you. We do have an employee electronic signature. If we would like the employees to sign off on their timesheets, we can have them walk through that process. We do also have a mileage tracking option and a dollars or per diem tracking option as well. So if you're interested in seeing any of those types of workflows, please contact your Delphia Consulting Solution Architect so we could do a one-on-one customized demo. Let's hop out of employee self-service. We're going to switch gears and proceed into manager self-service. All right, everyone. The difference between managers and employees in a time and attendance system is that managers have direct reports, and they're responsible for ensuring accuracy of those direct reports. So when managers log in right away, the upper portion of the screen we see our employee toolbar. This is the list of your manager's direct reports. So let's all step into the shoes of someone who has direct reports in our organization. They're going to get a drop-down list with their folks right here. I'd just like to remind you about the power of the integration. For customers that have the Sage Suite or Sage HRMS product, a lot of our time and attendance setup is done for us out of the box. Managers get those folks. Now, to increase visibility in your organization, we can build in what we call supervisor levels. Supervisor levels essentially position managers within the chain of command of your company, and that allows your president or person at the top of the chain to see employees that roll up underneath them. Imagine those vice presidents and directors also have access to all direct reports that flow up through them as well. Now, that's great for reporting, but the true benefit of the supervisor levels is that it provides managers backup access in the event they're unavailable to clean up timesheets or approve timesheets at the end of the pay period. So in summary, depending on who you are and where you're at in your organizational hierarchy, you'll have direct report access or possibly further down the chain. Now, to make life easier on supervisors, on the left-hand side of the employee toolbar, we flag managers' daily action items. We couldn't make this easier for the managers. The orange bubble is our alerts link, and then the green bubble is the request link. So when we train managers how to use the system, we tell them to log in once a day, clear the numbers out, get them down to 0, and then you can log off. By consolidating all their action items, we make them very efficient and strategic. So what I would like to do is quickly close the loop on the time off request process, and then we'll navigate into alerts. When managers get that time off request email, like we said, they can approve or decline right from the email. There will be a blue approve link and a blue decline link. If they'd like additional information behind the request, they can log into the system, and then they can go ahead and drill into the time off request itself by clicking on it. As managers drill into that request form, they get the exact same detail that the employee submitted. The first thing the managers are going to do is pull up that vacation calendar and gain visibility into who else has off on the 12th and 13th next week. The manager can review the balance information, they can review the comment, and they can include a response back. All right. So we do also support the advanced workflow as well. If we needed multiple managers or a back office user to put a final blessing on the time off approval, we could build a sequence or ordering into the approval workflow too. What we're going to do is go ahead and approve the request so we can talk about what happens behind the scenes. All right, first things first, when managers approve or decline those forms, the employee is going to receive an email notice back indicating that their time off has been approved. Second thing that happens, what I'm doing now is navigating out to Dave's timesheet for next week. This is the best part. Dave's timesheet's automatically filled out with these details. No going back and cross-referencing any wall calendars or forms that are sitting on the payroll person's desk. This timesheet's ready to roll when we process this pay period. Third thing that happens is we're going to decrement the accrual balance right away. We're going to take these 16 hours out of Dave's balance so we can't further request that time and go into the negative. The fourth thing that happens is that the time off calendar that we showed you is automatically filled out with these records. Fifth and finally, we will block Dave off the schedule so he doesn't get an absence notice for the days that we approved his leave time. All right, in the event Dave does decide to work on the 13th or 12th, we can either have Dave or Dave's manager or the back office come in, hit the trash can icon next to that day. We'll notice that we'll remove the hours from the timesheet, and then we'll also give them the vacation or PTO time back into the correct accrual balance. All right, everyone, so by positioning the employees to request against those accrual balances by using our automated forms and workflows, this is how we position employers to fully automate the way they manage leave balances. If anyone has any questions on the calendars or the forms or the balances, get those into the chat window so we can address those at the conclusion of this presentation. Now that we just covered leave balance management, we're going to move into alerting. Like we said, from a daily standpoint, we're going to train managers to get the numbers down to 0 and get out. After they clear out their action items, they're all finished with time and attendance responsibilities day to day. So let's dig into the alerts. Alerts are a call to attention or a call to action. Let me give an origin on where these come from, and then we'll work together to get this list cleaned up. At the beginning of your time and attendance implementation, you'll be working very closely with the Delphia team and the Insperity team on dissecting and analyzing your business policies. We'll identify premium rules, overtime shift differentials, maybe pay rate rules, holiday rules. And after we get different rules groupings based on state, union classification, or exemption status, we're then able to specify alert conditions for each of those groups. So using a very basic breakdown of groups, we'll have an hourly group and a salary group. We can specify rules that maybe alert if hourly people are getting overtime. Maybe the salary group, we just want to be notified if they don't fill out a timesheet, as an example. So the alert or call to action is configurable on a group-by-group basis. To help you make a decision on what type of alerts that we should have in the system, we'll provide you with a very large list of alerts. Your Delphia team will politely tell you to not turn all of the alerts on because we want to send managers that strategic call to attention or call to action given on what exactly that group should be doing. All right, so that's where the alerts come from. They're all parameterized and configured on a group-by-group basis. And when the alert comes in, that can trigger an email so the manager is aware right from their mobile phone or from their inbox. The managers will be provided a drilled-down link that will log them into the system, and when managers want to come into this space, they can go ahead and click on the alert to take action. So as we see here, we have a missing punch. All we're going to do is click on the missing punch. That's going to pull up an option for us to come in. We can take action. We can change the punch time. We're going to code it as an out in this instance. Oops, I think that was an AM instead of a PM. We'll code it as an in. And then we can go ahead and click Save to fix the alert. All right. So as we just showed you how managers can correct missing punches, let's quickly go into the audit log. The audit trail is going to show any changes that any of your managers make on a timesheet by timesheet basis. We also have a nice audit log report that will help you track changes over historical periods or track changes by user. All right, so after we correct that missing punch, we can hop out of there, and we can move on to the next missing punch. Some of the alerts require managers to take action. Other alerts are more attention-based in nature. What we're going to train your managers to do is delete the attention-based alerts. For instance, Dave's approaching overtime. We can drill into his timesheet if we need to. Becky came in early. We can drill into her timesheet by clicking on the alert. After we've taken note of the alert or what's happening with that particular day, we can close that out and we can mark it for deletion. So we're going to train managers to delete the alerts because we don't want them to pile up. So we're going to go ahead and delete them, but however, just because we're deleting the alerts doesn't mean they're out of the system. We're going to drill into our exceptions area, and we're going to review our attendance module here. So the workflow is we want managers to delete the alert. As they delete the alert, we can head to the attendance page and review what's happening on the employment record. So here's our attendance categories. This is basically where all those alerts get saved, and this allows us to report employee by employee on their behavior or their alert infractions. Let's move over to the right-hand side of the screen. We're going to see points. For those of you that have a points or an occurrence policy, we'd love to review your policy and give you a commitment that we can automate it for you. If you're managing in Excel or outside source, this is a great system to set your points or an occurrence policy up. For those of you unaware what an occurrence or points policy is, it's a scoreboard approach to managing attendance-related discipline. The reason why employers put a policy like this into their handbook is to make sure that all managers use the same measuring stick when it comes to rolling out that attendance-related discipline. If we have operations in multiple states, if we have a large number of supervisors in the same facility, building these controls and measures into the system ensures that all employees get treated the exact same way. So the way this works is we put a scored value on the attendance infraction, on an absence, on a tardy. That scored value can be threshold driven. For instance, maybe if I'm 1 minute late, I get a half a point. If I'm 5 minutes late, I get a full point. Maybe if I'm absent, I get 2 points. You get to define that policy. And then what we do is we maintain on a per employee basis a rolling balance. So then when we hit maybe 4 points, we can send a alert to the manager that indicates it's time to give a verbal warning. Perhaps 5 points should equal first written warning. 6 points could equal second. 7 could equal something else. So we can alert managers when it's time to roll out that corrective action based upon your policy. All right, for those of you interested in having a longer conversation on attendance-related discipline and points, contact your Delphia Solutions Architect so we can facilitate that conversation. So in summary, we're going to position managers to go ahead and delete those alerts. The system will generate them automatically. As we delete the alert, that will create the attendance transaction that can be used for reporting or for points management. Okay, we just showed you the day-to-day. Very simple, very easy for the managers to drill into their action items and get them cleaned up. We're going to hold off on showing you some other daily functions, which may include managing the schedule, which may include reviewing the employee leave balances, may include adding expenses or commissions. What we're going to now focus on is our end of pay period process, and we're going to show you how managers can approve timesheets at the end of the pay period. All right, when managers need to approve timesheets at the end of the pay period, we're first going to have them clear out those alerts, and then secondly, we're going to have them come into the approval spreadsheet to approve their staff's hours. On the left-hand side of the screen, we get a list of our staff, and then towards the center, we see different columns which indicate how the time is being coded for payroll. This is configurable. Most customers set up one column per pay type in their payroll system, and the whole reason for doing that is we want to organize the information that calls attention to outliers. So if we wanted to drill into the employees with the most amount of overtime, I can filter my overtime list. That'll pull up Melvin. I can see his 4.5 hours of overtime, and then I can drill into his timesheet and figure out where did those hours come from. Okay. If I need to email Melvin and ask him where did the hours come from, I can click the message button. I can interact with Melvin right from the screen and send him an email with that information. Okay. The whole point of the approval sheet is to provide the manager organized information that allows them to approve or drill into the timesheet to make edits. If I'm ready to approve the employees, I can move on, check them off one by one. After I've reviewed all the information, I can come down and select the Supervisor Approve All option, and then I'm going to go ahead and click Save to finalize the approval. However, what the system's going to do is some mirror checking, and it's going to make sure that employees don't have missing punches or that we don't have any open time off requests effective in the current pay period. If we see issues like that, the system will give us an error message and make us drill into Dave's timesheet so we can fix that problem and move on. Once the timesheet approvals are completed at the manager level, the timesheets will be locked from further editing from the management group. This is very important. We don't want any changes sneaking into the timesheet information while your payroll team proceeds through processing. If changes are entered into the data set, that's going to throw off their reconciliation point. So this approval serves as a guarantee to that balancing point. In the event timesheets are prematurely approved, your payroll management team will be able to unlock the timesheets as necessary so the appropriate edits can be made. So what we're seeing right here, by positioning managers to validate the hours as being accurate, this is the foundation behind your accurate payroll on the Sage platform. We position the folks closest to the payroll cost to come in, clean up the daily alerts, and then to come in and lock down the timesheets at the end of the pay period for your payroll manager. This can be really the hard part for organizations that move from a Generation 1 or Generation 2 time and attendance system into a web-based time and attendance system. This is really the hard part. Now that we've shown you the hard part with payroll, let's show you the easy part. We're going to log in with the manager. We're going to log in as our payroll manager now and walk through what they're able to do on a payroll day. All right, payroll folks. We just showed you how managers at the field level or managers at the operations level with direct reports will do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. What we're going to do on a payroll day is do some quick analysis first. We need to make sure all timesheets are approved before we do anything. So the way that we make an assessment of whether we're ready to begin the process or not is by drilling into the unapproved timesheets. We can then launch the approvals. We're then going to order the list by supervisor. And we're going to be able to quickly see who's holding up this show. Let's go ahead and order by supervisor here. All right, so as you can see here, we can gauge Teresa's status. We can see Carlos hasn't quite got started yet. Ryan hasn't got started yet. And from there, we can email Ryan and Carlos and ask them to proceed, or we could pick up the phone and coach them through the process. Before we process and send any data into the payroll engine, we want to make sure that all timesheets are locked. And by drilling into the unapproved list, this really gives us an accurate picture of whether we're ready to begin or not. Now, as all employees begin getting approved on the screen, they will start disappearing from the unapproved list. Eventually, our payroll administrator is going to get a notice that all employee timesheets, the payroll person is going to get a notice that there are no remaining unapproved timesheets, and that's really their signal to begin processing. So we're going to pretend like we got that all clear message from the system right now, and we're going to proceed into the next step, which is reporting. Step 1 on our payroll process is to ensure all timesheets have been approved. After we've verified that approval status, we're going to run a payroll reconciliation report. Let's talk about reporting as a whole, though. This is a big component of the system. There's about 100 different reports in Sage Time and Attendance. Now, popular reports include the Approaching Overtime report. We have an Audit Log report. We have an Attendance Trends and Details report. We have history reporting. We have payroll reports. Operations managers love the scheduled versus worked report to look at actual to budget. We have timesheet reports, and we have some trend reporting as well. Okay, so we're going to run a payroll report for our payroll team. And while I do this, I just want to mention that we also have automated scheduled reports. Our experience is that managers typically don't run reports unless they're hunting for information. So if we want them to be strategic and get that actual to budget or approaching overtime report on Friday mornings, they're so much more likely to look at that report information if it's sitting in their inbox. The reports can be printed out to Word, Excel, and we're looking at a payroll report here in PDF format. So with respect to the payroll report, I just wanted to run this report in a detailed manner by employee so we could get a perspective on what our timesheet reports look like. On the left of our reports, we have the allocation breakdown, if we have employees working in different spaces. And then towards the center of the screen, we can see the pay type and shift analysis. If employees are working different shift codes or getting premiums, we'll see that broken down here. And as we work to the right-hand side of the report, we'll see the rate of pay. For those of you who do not want to share pay rates with certain individuals in your organization, the pay rate field can be hidden on a user-by-user basis. Why is this important? Why is this report important for payroll? At the bottom of the report, we have our report totals. This is our balancing point. When we pass the payroll information, when we pass the time card detail into the payroll module better be picking up 1,097.8 hours. This is our reconciliation point. Okay. Payroll folks on the phone, you probably don't care about the employee detail that we're showing here. we can get you more of a summary by pay type or summary by department and pay type if that's what reconciliation means to you. Regardless, you're going to get a report with that reconciliation point on it, and you're going to print it out and set it to the side for cross-reference after we move into the next step. So again, just to recap, step 1, we verify the company approval status has been completed. Step 2, we run that balancing report. Step 3, we're going to proceed to our export menu and go ahead and send the hours into the payroll module. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click export, and what the system's going to do is prepare to send the data into the Sage Payroll module. However, we have a very important check and balance built into this step. In the event the employees don't get approved, they will prevent us from passing data into the Sage Payroll engine. Okay, so on the left-hand side, we did get a list of errors because we didn't approve everyone. So what we can do as payroll managers is manage and get through this action item list on the left-hand side. We're going to go ahead, take care of the approvals, rework this with the managers if we ask them to do that. And then if we do make any necessary changes after we get through that list, we're going to rerun that report again after we verify everyone is locked down. And then the next time we come in and click the export area, after all timesheets have been approved, we're going to get a successful message instead of that list of errors. The successful message is going to tell us that the timesheets are sitting inside the Sage system. We're then going to log into the Sage system, and we're going to run a trial payroll report. At that point, we're going to take the report contents out of the payroll engine, match it against time and attendance to make sure that both systems balance. When both systems balance, we can proceed through the steps leading into payroll finalization. That's it. It's that simple. Let's recap. Payroll all starts with the managers. Managers will put their blessing and electronic signature to lock those timesheets from further edits. Payroll will then in turn get involved to go through a series of checks and balances, including approval status verification, reconciliation reports. We will then import the timesheet information into the payroll module. We run a trial payroll to balance and reconcile those systems. We're then able to finalize. All right, everyone. That's our payroll process, and the good news is that was the last in-software workflow that we wanted to produce for you this afternoon. So let's recap everything that we showed you, and then what we're going to do is hop back into PowerPoint to wrap up our conversation. We showed you employee self-service, how the employees can collect their timesheet data through web punching or through timesheet entry. We talked about employees filling out leave forms, vacation and sick to be specific. We then transitioned into manager self-service, and we showed you the daily responsibility of clearing out the alerts and time off requests. We showed you the timesheet approval screen. That transitioned us into looking at reports and payroll from our administrator perspective. All right, let's go ahead and pull the PowerPoint back up. There are a couple other comments that we just want to make very quickly. All right, there we go. So before we open it up for question and answer in just a moment, we also just want to make you aware of some of the other great extended solutions that Delphia Consulting offers from Sage. And just to note, Sage did research and partner with the best-of-breed solution providers like Insperity Time and Attendance that we just saw. Delphia also has solutions for recruiting, applicant tracking, paperless forms, alerts and workflow, benefit carrier connections, talent and learning, and performance management, downloadable training courses for industry-specific needs, and so much more. So if you'd like to learn about any of these, please let your solution architect know. All right, everyone. At this time, Kelly Jo, I'm going to pass it over to you to facilitate the question and answers portion of today's session.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate your time today. The question, looks like we only have one question right now on the screen, and that is if they have the time simplicity scheduling, will the time off request flow over to the schedule?
Absolutely. Time simplicity is seamlessly integrated with Sage Time and Attendance.
Great, great. That looks like that was the last of the questions. I'll give people just a moment more in case they are busily typing and I did not see them. But thank you for a very good presentation today, Mike. And if you have any questions, please contact Delphia toll-free at 888-421.